In our first 10 months of business, we made $1 million. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Titan from Titans of CNC. And today we're gonna do something a little bit different. It's story time. And we're gonna play off of today's vlog. So today we actually put out a vlog called Keys to CNC Machining Success. And the vlog came from filming yesterday where I actually put out a video and I said, hey, I need your help. Give me questions. We're talking about trials and tribulations and actually learning from it so that we can rise and become who we need to be that shop leader, to own our own shop, and to be successful. And we did it on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And we had so many comments and so many questions, and it was amazing. People, machinists, shop owners, people coming in the trade from all over the world. But coming away from it and seeing some of the frustration in the comments, I really saw like there's a common theme here, and it all revolves around shops starting out. They want to know how I actually started, which I've told bits and pieces of the story many times, right? So I'm not going to go into everything because you can find it elsewhere. Like Titan Gilroy's testimony, like it's an incredible video that tells an amazing story. Walking into a lockdown cell, just been given 16 years in prison. It's a crazy story. It's against all odds. Telling this story is going to answer a lot of the questions that you guys did. But down in the comments, ask me, because we're gonna read every single one and we will answer them in future vlogs, okay? This is an ongoing conversation. Just make sure that you hit that subscribe button, the like button, help us expand our audience, right? But I'm gonna tell you about how I started my shop. It was March to the end of the year. We made $1 million CNC machining parts. I went from having $30,000 in arrears in child support and paying $1,500 out of my net income and having to borrow $5, from my wife's mom to get gas in my truck to go to work. I went from that to basically changing the entire course of my family's life, right? And doing everything that led up to me talking to you right here, right? Because I went after it and made certain decisions and just went for it. So let's talk about it. I was a machinist. I was 34 years old. And basically I had worked at many different companies. I had solved problems for massive applied material shops that had, these guys had 1 million square feet, horizontal stacked, and they were scrapping parts. I would solve problems for the right people and program jobs and hit tolerances that they couldn't hit. And I gained a reputation, right? I went to places and built companies and it didn't work out for me and I left angry, but I learned how to actually put machines on the floor. I learned how to run air and learned how to run electricity. I learned how to talk to customers and engineers and do everything. And then I would leave, right? I went to different shops and people thought I was too aggressive, but I made good parts, right? But they thought I was too aggressive and I hit wall after wall. But that's what happens when you're destined to have your own company. You end up being different. You end up caring about something in a way that not many care about, right? And that's what makes you different and what makes you eligible, what qualifies you. So I ended up going to another company where for 4 years I took them from manual machines and built a CNC shop, brought in work, dealt with all the customers, programmed all the jobs, just made everything happen. And we had a deal where basically the owner was gonna go to Texas and I was gonna end up, that's gonna be my shop, right? It was gonna be his name, his retirement, it was gonna be my shop. And it ended up being, hey, Titan, we're gonna give you a great future, but I found a buyer for the shop, so I'm planning on selling it. And I walked away with nothing. Nothing. All those years and basically working at all those shops, I walked away with nothing. Even the car that I drove, I had to return to my ex-employer because he owned the truck, right? After everything. So I basically had nothing. I had no money, but I was just like, you know what? I am done working for others. Like I have my own style. I have my own way of programming. I do things so different. And people, we're dealing with a bunch of alphas out there. Like people just don't understand it. But I believe in myself so much that I believe that I can actually do something. So I actually called this guy Keith Grano from Selway Machine Tool, and they sell Haas. Oh, do not disturb. All right, we're good, right? It's an active running business. But check this out. Keith is one of the top salespeople for Selway Machine Tool, okay? And they sell like Haas machines and Matsura and different machines, okay? And basically, I called him up. I said, Keith, I'm gonna make my own shop. And he's like, all right. And I said, I wanna quote 4 machines. I want to quote 2 VF2 SS's because they go 833 inches a minute. And basically, I'm going to sell the fact that I can run faster and more efficient than anybody else. And that's going to be in my marketing. So I'm going to do this. And then I want 2 SL10s, just smaller lathes that I can handle. And basically, that's going to give me an ability to actually like make, mill parts and actually do lathe parts. And one of the lathes, I want a bar feeder. The other one, I'll just chuck, will be good. And let's do it. And he's like, you gonna do a shop? You got money? And I'm like, no, I got nothing. He's like, you ain't got any money? I'm like, no. But over the years, he had seen all the programs and all the fixtures and how I maximized that work envelope and how I took these parts. And I was like, dude, this was running at 50 inches a minute. Now we're running at 200 inches a minute. Now we're running at 400 inches a minute. Oh, roughed in at 800 inches a minute. The time was here and now we're here. And then we slow it down. We kiss it into tolerance, and the customers are happy because we're saving them money, right? And he saw all the stories, and he would always tell people, man, this programmer over here, like he's just killing it, like, and I'd be running 4 or 5 machines by myself, making it happen, and like he saw it. So when I looked at him, and he saw the history of me always making things happen, I told him, I said, I will get the money. But please, like, quote these machines for me. Don't worry about where I'm gonna get it, but I will get them. So he did a quote. And I went and I started going to all the tech companies. I went to everyone and I talked to them and I had references and everything. And I basically said, look, you guys are doing this amount of work. Like I will actually do this amount of work at a fraction of the price. And I'll give you a contract that actually shows that I guarantee you that I will save you 30% on everything that you machine, and I will honor that and stuff. And everybody just kind of looked at me like, oh man, like this would be awesome. You know what I mean? But do you have an inspection facility? Do you have this? Do you have that? And I just sold them. I told them about my story. I told them that I used to be in prison. I told them that I walked into the trade. I told them that I've been working hard. I've been working at all these shops. I told them about the people that I'd solved problems for, and I got them vested. And they were like, okay, Titan, we'll give you a little bit to start. All right, then I go to the next company and the next company. Eventually, like Keith and other people, like the sales reps, they were going out because they were inspired by my story. And they were saying, look, this kid is like unbelievable. Like he can program, he runs so fast. Everybody says it's impossible, but he does it every single day. And like it just works. And people, they want to save money. A lot of times everybody can talk, but if a customer sees an opportunity that they can actually drop their prices and it's a tried and true method, they want to save some money. They want to save some money, right? So all of a sudden, my phone started ringing and people I didn't even know from like the Bay Area and Southern California and Redding and stuff, they would be like, hey, Titan, like, we were just talking with Keith. Oh, we're just talking with the salesperson from this. We're just talking with this. You're opening your own shop and with this and this. And what an incredible story. And like, we want to give you work. I started doing this big company from Redding actually gave me a whole series of parts and says, you know what, we make a lot of this stuff in China, but we're trying to bring it back, and here's some parts that we can have you do. And like, it's like $2,000 per month of these parts every single month. And I was like, oh man. And so I just looked at everything. I made decisions based on what I thought was right for me, meaning like, which company should I take to actually run the most parts to have the best chance of success, where one person or two people or three people can actually run the machines and maximize them 24 hours a day, right? So I went out and I actually got the quote from Keith, and guess what? The quote came back, $289,000. You gotta understand, I didn't even own my car. Like, I didn't even own like a house. Like 4 years ago, 5 years, 6 years ago or something, like I was incarcerated, right? So like I didn't even have the experience, a little bit more like 8, 9 years. But you know what I mean? I just didn't have the credit. I didn't have anything. And all of a sudden it was almost $300,000. And it was such a large amount, right? So I tried to, I was like, can I finance it? Can I do this? Oh, we'll get back to you. So I started going back to these companies and I said, hey, you know what? Like, it's not working out with the money and this and this. Like, what if I actually do a contract with you and you actually give me this amount of money and I'll do these parts, and then basically you can take the price off of the parts, but I'll be saving you so much money, it's going to work out. And people, they loved me, but they weren't about to give me money, right? So I kept looking at the different customers. Like I had 25 customers lined up. And I went from customer to customer to customer, and I told them a story. I told them how I was gonna save them money. I told them how I was gonna pay them back. I told them how this, how it was gonna impact their company. And I sold it. And I got denied and denied and denied. And then something happened. My phone rang. And it was a guy named Jeff Weaver. You on the Facebook group, you guys already know. Like you see him on there, right? And Jeff was an old machinist that worked on my night shift. And basically I was paying him, a certain amount. And it was probably more than what he was worth, but I trusted him, right? And I don't say more than what he was worth. I just mean like, his eyes were going, his hands were going, he was on a manual machine, and, he was working on the night shift, and I trusted him to keep everybody kind of else in line and stuff, right? So I don't want to say, I was paying him more than what he was worth. I'm just saying like he was there because I could trust him, and he just was a good man, not so much because of the productivity, right? But let me get back to it. So he calls me and he's like, hey, Titan, my parents just passed. And I'm like, oh, dude, like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. And he's like, you know what? They left me $50,000. And that's all I have in this world, besides my wife and, my house and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, he's like, I want to give that $50,000 to you. And I was like, dude, like, I'm not going to take that $50,000. I'm not taking it. Like, I'm not going to take it, and stuff. And he's like, I want to give it to you. Like, my hands are going, my eyes are going, like, I can invest it, I can do this, but like, I'm not going to be working for that much longer. And like, I used to own my own shop. I've seen what you can do, and like, I believe in you, Titan. I believe in you, and like, I just want to like give this to you. And I was like, Jeff, I'm not gonna take your money, okay? I told him no, and then I went and tried knocking on doors, and everything had stopped. Everything had stopped, and all of a sudden, like, Keith came back, and he's like, dude, they're not gonna finance you the machines. They actually denied you flat out, denied you on your credit. And I was like, oh man, like defeated, like, oh man. And I kept moving forward, but I was like, man, if I ain't got no machines and I can't finance them, like my idea was to get a few months of free rent on the machines, and meaning like the payments, like, and then actually make payments like 3 or 4 months down the line, so that when I already had, I was already getting money from my customers and stuff. So I didn't really know what to do. And then all of a sudden I get a call, and the call is from Bill Selway. And then Bill Selway is the owner of Selway Machine Tool, and it's the biggest manufacturing like distributor on the West Coast, right? So they distribute to Boeing and from Washington down to San Diego to all the companies and stuff. And I mean, he's big time, right? And he calls me up. He's like, Titan. There's a couple times where he was like in my shop, and he was just like, I was filling up, running some big parts, and he was just like, oh man, this is like you're doing it on a Haas? Like, oh, that's like, takes some talent. And I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? So he kind of knew about me, and then he knew from Keith, and he's like, I heard, I was going through a stack of papers, and I actually looked, and I realized I saw your name, since you have a unique name, not like John, Jeff, or Bill or something, right? It was Titan, like it caught my eye, and I'm like, there's only one Titan I know, and that's that guy up there. So, what do you want to do, and why'd you get denied? And I'm like, well, I've had a hard life. I've been working, but I got all this child support. I got all this, $1,500 comes out of my net, So, I haven't built up credit. I don't own anything. I have a lot of talent. I have a plan, but they just didn't like it, right? So, I don't really know what to do. And he's like, Titan, what's your plan? I said, well, I got somebody who's going to give me $50,000. It's his life savings. He's actually going to give me that money. I got customers lined up. I actually can pick and choose. So I'm actually going to go with this series of customers right here. And we're going to stack up vices. We're going to maximize our workload. We're going to I'm going to work day and night, 24 hours a day on the weekends too. And I'm going to just make it happen. And he basically looks at me as like, Titan, on the phone. He's on the phone, right? I'm getting intimate right now. But he's like, Titan, tell me where to drop off the machines. I haven't done this personally in 9 years, but I am going to co-sign your loan. I'm going to co-sign your loan and guarantee it to Haas, and put everything on the line for you, Titan. You have an incredible vision, and I want to see you have your own machine shop. That's why I'm in business, to see guys like you rise up, guys who would never have an opportunity in life, to see you guys rise up. And he's like, tell me where to deliver the machines. So I just was like blown away. I called Jeff. I meet with Jeff. I'm like, Jeff, if you give me the $50,000, I will triple it in 2 years. I'll give it back to you. You give me 50, I will triple it. I'll give it back to you. All right? And he's like, done. His wife had never met me. We meet. My wife, the wife's talking to me and Gina, and Elaine is basically, talking about that's everything they have. And she, trust me, she wasn't happy with Jeff over it, right? She wasn't happy with Jeff, but she's like, that's everything that we have, and we're giving it to you. And my wife, afterwards, she's like, you sure you can do this? Are you sure you can do this? And I'm like, baby, I can do it. This is gonna happen. This is my call. I know that this is the path. And so he gave me the money, found a building with these bays. It was a brand new building, 2,000 square feet, boom, boom, boom. Each bay was 2,000. And we basically went in there and talked to the owner, and I was like, man, they're gonna ask me for my credit. It's gonna be I'm not gonna get it and stuff. And I'm just gonna go up there. And I went up and I met with the property owner, and I told them a story about who I was, where I came from, how it worked at all these shops, how I'd solved problems for these companies. I told them a story about what my vision was what I wanted to do, that the shop was going to be for something much bigger than making money. Like, we're going to make a difference with this shop and touch lives with it and stuff. And he basically was like, okay, this is the amount. I said, that's good. And he said, okay, when do you want to sign the lease? And I was like, oh, we can do it on this day. And I walked away and I told my wife, I'm like, he didn't even ask me for my credit. Like, he didn't even ask me for my credit. That was crazy, right? And then all of a sudden, like, we got the machines coming. We so I got a picture of the machines, right? You want to see like the biggest Christmas gift in the history of the world? Where, like, for me, right? I didn't have a car when I was young. I used to hitchhike with my mom, right? I was borrowing $5 from my wife's mom to get to work just a few months back. And all of a sudden, this comes up the road. Boom. Check it out. Like, everything right there, right? Boom. All my machines stacked. So I got two SS's, I got 2 lathes, and I got my bar feeder. Boom, right there. That comes up. And I was like, you are so beautiful to me. I'm not saying, I'm just, dude. And anyway, we painted everything. We ran the electric, got everything. Jeff came on and said, you know what, I'll actually work with you for 2 years and then I'm out. I was like, perfect. And check this out. That's with the machines on the floor, wired before we even had anything. Pretty cool picture, right? Like, this is memories right here. Like, just, mill side, lay side, there were some offices, like, it's over here. There's a couple offices, bathrooms and stuff over here, but just bare. Like, we didn't have anything. But it's like, this is good memories, right? This is good memories. During the beginning part, like, the $50,000 was gone. Like, it was gone. Like, I spent it all. And then basically Jeff went back and actually, like, got $75,000 from actually redoing his mortgage on his house. Pulled 75 and actually gave me that. And it was incredible. So Jeff gives me this $75,000 and I mean, we had to get the machines. We had to get compressors. We had to spend money for all the electrical alone is big money, right? We had to get our tools. We had to get, like, places to put the tools in. We had to get a computer. We had to get desks. We had to get our inspection tools. I went to Western Tools, a distributor over there, and I actually, like, talked to the sales guys and stuff, and I sold them on my store, talked to them. I said, look, this is what we're going to do. This is my customer. This is this. I don't have money for tooling, but, I'll buy this, and this. And then, I want to get double vices, and I actually want to put 4 vices per machine, and that'll allow me to run this much, parts, and this is how we're going to do it. And they talked to the owner of the company, and he actually gave me with no credit, he gave me a $40,000 credit limit with them. And I actually bought my vices and just went after it, right? We stacked, I made special, these quick snap-in jaws, like on the Tico vices and stuff, and I fixtured everything out and basically started running day and night. And I took a room that we weren't using. We didn't have money for any of the furniture. I took one of the rooms, and actually my brother-in-law came in and actually tiled it. And we put a flat screen TV we had at home in there. We painted it yellow and put this blue couch in there that folded out to a bed. And I moved in. And my wife and my kids would basically, come and visit me in that room. And I basically lived at the shop, and I worked 24 hours a day. And Jeff would come in, he would leave, He would come in. I had another kid, Jordan, working for me. He would come in, he would leave, and I just worked day and night. And I absolutely loved it. The jobs would be like stacked, right? So we got double vices, we got multiple parts on 2 different sections of each vise, and then every vice, boom, boom. On the next one, same thing. Lathes are just parting off. We're pulling on some, we're bar feeding on some, and I just would run all 4 machines. I'd go actually watch movies with my wife, with my kids, and relax. I would go to sleep. Every single hour, I would the alarm would go off. I'd wake up. I'd go change all the parts. Boom, 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 and I did it, right? And it was just crazy. I was working nonstop, but I was hungry. I was not gonna fail. I put the time in, figured it out. My wife, I got her invested, and she just brought me food and came by, and sometimes she would get on a machine and actually run parts and stuff, and it was just crazy. I remember the first month, the first jobs that we actually sent, there was a company called Sight. We were making paintball gun barrels out of carbon fiber. So it's Sight Manufacturing out of Reading, and we were making all these little parts on the lathe and stuff, and I shipped all the parts and stuff. And my first month, I made $13,000. That's how much I shipped, right? Because you can make a whole lot of parts, but what goes out the door is actually what you make. But I made $13,000, and basically during this time, literally before that month was done, I had spent $125,000 of Jeff's money. $125,000 just to ship 13,000. But the shop was looking good. And then all of a sudden, I just went and I couldn't pay any bills. I had no more money. And I went to Sight and I said, hey, I'll give you a 5% discount if you actually pay me early on that money. And they actually paid me early, and I still have that check, the very first check. And we just kept it rolling. The month after that, we shipped 36,000. Month after that, we did 42,000, and then 55,000. And I remember every single month, it was 10,000 more, and 10,000 more, and 10,000 more. It was an incredible journey. It was the hardest thing I ever did, but we put the time in. Everything that I did from the beginning, everything that we did was about excellence. It was about documentation. We created our quality manual from day one. We got the right things to show our customers that we were serious about everything, right? And it worked out for us. It worked out for us. And I remember coming in, maybe 9 months, something like that, and just looking at QuickBooks and being like, we made $100,000 in 1 month. It was crazy. And then at the end, we just had some big months. Boom, boom, boom. So that probably would have been more like the 6th month or something. But we just had some big months. And after our first year in business, our biggest customer dropped us and took all the work to China. And the very next day, I got a call from Schilling Robotics. And they were building these HD heavy-duty ROVs, big ROVs, remote operated vehicles that dropped to the bottom of the ocean and had all these titanium parts and stuff. And basically, it would change my life forever. By the time we were 3-4 years in business, we're $1 million a month. And that was right before the downfall, which is another story. But, what can I say? It's been an incredible journey. It's been a lot of hard work. There's so many times when I wanted to quit. There's so many times when, people said, oh, you can't do it, and you can't have your own shop, and you run too fast, and you do this, and you do that, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, you know what? Some people will get tripped up by it, and they will fall because of other people, right? But you have to stand up, and you have to look inside yourself and understand that you have a gift. and you have many gifts and they don't have it. You have a mind and they don't think like you. They will respond and talk based on what they can comprehend from their experiences. They will be negative based on their attitude and their experiences. So you need to be polite and you need to be loving towards all, but you need to understand that you are different with your own ideas, your own mind, your own experiences. And if you know that you can do something, then you need to walk. You need to let things bounce off and slide past you. And you need to walk boldly and go do what needs to be done, right? You know, it is all possible. This trade, like I went from having the $30,000 in arrears and $1,500 child support to during my first year in business, probably 4 months into it, I went in with a check for $30,000 and I actually paid off all of my child support. And I actually sent, after the year was done, my son Tyson had just turned 18. He was living in Maui with his mom, and Chris was 16. And I basically sent for them and they came over here, and I had my family with me. This trade gave me that. Like, this trade gave me everything. You know, what I have to say is Jeff worked for me for 2 years. But instead of paying him 3 times, I just told him, you know what? I'm going to give you 3 times and I'm going to give you an extra $500,000. Over time, as I grew in success and everything, I looked back at him and I thought to myself, you know what? I would have nothing if it wasn't for you, my Lord, my family. Like, what you did for me by giving me that money, like, it was incredible. And I just looked at him, I said, you know, Jeff, so long I'm profitable, I'm gonna give you $2,000 for the rest of your life until you die, period. And you guys can go talk to him. I've kept my word on all of that. I only say it because you gotta understand, you know, what Bill Selway did for me by co-signing, what Jeff did for me, those are the things that allow me to actually have what I have. You know, why I go and do so much for other people. Because it's not about me. You don't gain, you know, personal satisfaction from helping yourself. You gain the meaning of life from helping other people rise, right? That's what it's about, you know? And I still go through hard times. I got, you know, 2 sons with autism, right? You know what I mean? The older one is doing so good. And the younger one, you know, I feed every morning and do different things. He's, you know, he's middle to high functioning, but he's doing good, Nathaniel. I've talked about him a lot. But there's tough things that go on. But I'm just like, you know, if this is what I'm handed, then how can I affect other people? Let me share my story. Let me talk to other people, because a lot of people are going through it and they don't understand. You know what I mean? I look at this and I'm like, this trade has changed my life. And that's why I've walked away from big contracts. That's why I've walked away from many things, and I've gone and trailblazed this road to actually make these videos, to make the academy, to build my team, to actually lift up our entire industry and inspire people, because it's not about making money. And from day one, my shop was never about making money. My shop, just like I told the landlord when I was getting those 2 bays, my shop is going to be about lifting people up and making a difference. And I can truly say that that's what it's about right now. That's why I'm doing this video right now. But this video is about touching your life to give you hope. I'll end with this. It took years of putting parts in and out. It took years of operating machines, learning how to use a saw, learning how to deal with customers, learning how to be with engineers, dealing with different personalities, just dealing with all of it. It took years of experience and time in the trade to be able to stand on my floor with the walls falling down and be cool under pressure and be able to answer any question. If there's a gift that I have, you can talk to my guys. Anybody can ask me anything, and I rarely don't have an answer. And if I don't have an answer, I go to the person who does and I get that information. But I'm only like that because of how many years I've put in, how much time I've put in. It's been awesome. Manufacturing CNC machining. In 1 year, my first year in business, 10 months, $1 million. Somebody who'd been in prison, somebody who had ruined his life, somebody who had nothing, $1 million. Boom.